aren't you podcasting? Why aren't you reaching through the lens and grabbing people by the throat and saying, here's our message. Do you care about this? And you know what? People will. And the people who do care about it will subscribe and they'll follow your message. It's, again, more intimate. We're going to clue you in. You're going to get you glued in here.
Yeah, right.
Big time.
No.
Ready? Take it. He'll freeze up. Okay.
Are you familiar with the Tommy and those Mother
Yeah,
Brothers?
take it.
You didn't take.
When I say take it, you take it.
But I didn't. Okay.
My name is Doug Welch. I'm a member of the LA Podcasters. LA Podcasters is a regional group of fellow podcasters here in the Los Angeles area. And we gather together to help each other out, to explore new concepts in podcasting, talk about monetization of our podcast, talk about creativity, and a wide variety of other topics.
My name is Klass, and I agree with everything he just said. No, but it's a good group because it's a very diverse group as far as the types of shows they're doing. A lot of audio people, now a lot of video people from every walk of life, every point of view.
Podcasting as a word and as a concept has been around basically since September 2004. All the concepts, all the parts that make up podcasting have been around for much longer. MP3s, been around forever. Internet, been around for a long time. What podcasting did was combine those with this relatively new concept of an RSS feed, combined it together, gave us a distribution method, an easy distribution method where people could subscribe to a show, and each episode of that show would automatically appear on their computer every time the producer released a new show.
The mechanism of podcasting can be used to distribute almost any type of computer file. But the truth is, if people want to subscribe to a series of PDF files, JPEGs, whatever, anything that you have that people might want to download on a regular basis, you can include in your RSS feed, and they can be, for lack of a better term, podcast.
You know, it was just a combination of a couple people who got together. The two people who were usually associated with the birth of podcasting are Dave Weiner, who invented RSS, and Adam Curry, of all people, former MTV VJ from the 80s. You might remember him from Headbangers Ball. Adam wrote, he wanted a self-loading iPod. It was, like most technology, it was personally driven. He wrote these scripts that would automatically look at an RSS feed, which Dave Weiner had created, look for a line in there that said enclosure. And if you think about it like an email attachment, this enclosure line said, there's a media file, and it's over there, go get it. Now, very quickly from that humble beginnings, various initiatives around the world came together and they formed and started developing what are called pod catching clients. These are software like iTunes that basically subscribe to these RSS feeds. They check them every hour, every day, whenever you set up. And if they see a new show in a particular feed, they automatically grab that show, bring it down to your computer, and shove it into iTunes. iTunes was the big bump. When Apple recognized podcasting as a thing and started supporting it, I know from my own show, I jumped 300 subscribers in one day.
Yeah. Well, and very early on, there was this, Doug being among them, there was this very early group of people all over the country who started doing shows specifically to be podcast, led by Adam Curry. Now, here's a guy who had, by that point, 10, 15 years of broadcasting experience.
He owned a castle.
He owned a castle, for God's sake, in Belgium or
Belgium.
Brussels or somewhere?
Yeah, Belgium.
But what happened was these very engaging people from everywhere, every walk of life, started doing these programs, and they started this snowball of content that they ended up almost inadvertently tapping into this need for non-clear channel, non-corporate, non-committee driven content. The means of production, the means of distribution, not to sound too much like a pinko, they're in the hands of the people, baby, you know what I mean? And so you're hearing from people now, and it's kind of fascinating.
There was a website, there's a web service, still is a web service called meetup.com. And what it is, it just brings together people who have similar interests. And so there are meetups based on knitting and politics and whatever, and there just happens to be one on podcasting. after a few of those meetups took place, and after some changes in the meetup service, the LA Podcasters said, okay, we want to continue meeting like this. We're going to bring it under our own auspices. We recently did an event in coordination with an art walk that takes place twice a year here in Los Angeles. The Brewery Art Walk, which some of your viewers might be familiar with. We actually did 2 days of live podcasting from the Art Walk. And I spent 2 days, 8 hours a day on my feed, greeting people at the door saying, have you heard about podcasting? Do you know what it is?
Evangelizing. You know,
and I was actually very surprised in that many more people than I had thought of, and even if I had talked to them 3 months ago, we had many more people who actually had heard of it at least.
God, it's been a beautiful day.
It has been a gorgeous day today.
So I'm sitting here with these pine trees or conifer, whatever they are, the little like spotty clouds.
I almost feel like I'm on vacation.
It is definitely making it harder for the new people to get recognized because there's now so much clutter. Some people refer to the release of iTunes 4.9 as D-Day. You know, it's like podcasting's, 9/11. In that suddenly all these independent podcasters were competing with Danny Bonaducci and all these morning zoo shows and every NPR station and everything. But I think the thing that really sparked podcasting to begin with, I think, is ultimately going to be what is its savior, in that there will always be these independent people doing something that is either so human or such a niche or niche piece of programming that the audience will find it. Now, will they have an audience the size of American Idol? No, of course not. But the networks are never going to do a show that goes into the depths of feng shui. You know what I mean? That talks about ADD, the kind of depth that a podcast could talk about ADD or whatever the topic is. You know,
it's like a
exactly
stay-at-home dad,
right? Talking about being a stay-at-home dad.
Right.
Instead of Katie Couric interviewing a woman who wrote a book, interviewing well, plus we don't have executive producers, we don't have big corporate sponsors that we have to kind of keep calm. We don't have committees that we have to answer to, and so what you end up with is these very human voices talking from a place of passion, as opposed to people trying to figure out what America wants to see or hear.
I get letters from those people that I touch directly. 700 to 800 to 900 people are subscribed to that show. You would ask me 2 years ago, will you ever have 700 to 900 people listening to a show that you produce? I would have said, you're crazy. And the whole whispering in your ear thing.
Yeah,
especially with the iPod today.
Yeah.
You're literally whispering in their ears with your words. And that is, to me, so different from traditional radio or traditional television. Yeah, 700 to 900 people. The networks are going to go, 700 to 900 people. To someone like us, that's important.
Sure.
That's 700 to 900 people I wouldn't touch any other way. So why wouldn't you do it?
What I do is, and I never really tried to think of it this way in the beginning, but it is storytelling, and it is, I suppose it's nonfiction, maybe slightly stylized for effect, but it's storytelling, and it is art. I mean, in a way, what I'm doing is I'm not trying to do a radio show. I'm not trying to be everything to all people. I'm trying to express myself honestly, and that's what it's been all about.
You can drop the F-bomb.
You can drop the F-bomb if need be.
If need be. You don't want to use it too much, but if you want to, you can.
Yeah, but like people like myself or Lance Anderson, the founder of LA Podcasters, who's a storyteller, we found that there is this, particularly for storytelling, there's this gigantic audience that wants to hear longer, more intelligent stories than they can get, practically anywhere else.
I often tell songwriters and musicians to not just talk about their own music and their own songs, but to talk about people who influence them, especially other independent, other up-and-comers.
But don't you think that all bands should be podcasting?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean,
especially bands, spoken word artists of any kind, poets. Yes. One of the guys in LA Podcasters is a poet and has a poetry podcast that does very well. It's just like it's all about self-expression straight to the audience. Right. Straight to the jugular, and no pussyfooting around trying to get a gallery to let you have a showing, trying to get a producer to put you on stage, trying to get somebody to agree with you. No one has to agree with you except the audience.
And it's cheap.
And it's very
and it's cheap.
As MySpace kind of spreads its tentacles and Flickr and all that stuff and podcasting and everything, eventually everything will be available all the time. and we will finally be able to just kind of only see what we want to see it exactly when and how we want to see it. Part of me always believes that the term podcasting may eventually go away, because it's like discussing radio waves at a certain point. You know what I mean? Like, he and I will do shows that are not on TV, and there'll be shows that are on TV, but they'll all be available through subscription. So I'm a firm believer that eventually we'll stop fixating on the mechanism, and there will just be
It'll be a show.
Programming. Yeah,
it'll be a show. Podcasting allows you to take that script out of the drawer, to take those photos out of the album, to take the thoughts out of your head and present it. And it just increases the chances that you're going to connect with an audience, you're going to connect with someone who enjoys it, who perhaps may be in a position of power, maybe not. But it's a much bigger chance than if it never got out there at all. You can find all of my podcasts, Career Opportunities, a Gardener's Notebook, and also a slightly less frequent one called My Word at welchwrite.com. That's WELCHWRITE.com.
You're good.
I got it down.
Yeah, you got it down, man. I always choke on it a little bit, you know? There's always that weird, like, faux whatever. Yeah. My show's The Bitterest Pill. It's at thebitterestpill.com. And there are links to all my other stuff from there. And if you want to learn more about podcasting, Podcast Solutions, The Complete Guide to Podcasting, available from A Press Publishing.
Pimp the book.
Pimp the book. And of course, LA Podcast. You can reach us and all our cohorts through lapodcasters.com. Yeah. Right.